Dear students, we will move to the second portion of the snake bite. So, in the last class, we see what are the last video we see what are the types of snakes, classification of snakes, how the snake venom affects, or what are the components of snake venom, and now we will see what are the features, it what are the symptoms of each and every features of each and every snake bites. If you see a local pain and tissue damage, you can see except kite, all other snakes can produces a local pain and tissue damage. So if you see neurological signs like ptosis as present only with mostly with cobra, kite and wrestle viper, and so scaled and hum nose viper won't produce any such type of effect. And hemostatic things can happen with only with the wrestle viper and viper family, Viperidae family, not with any Elpidae family like cobra or kite. And renal abnormalities, complications is also mostly found with wrestle and hum nose viper, not with any saw-scaled or cobra or kite. And response to neostigmine. So that here the venoms which blocks the postsynaptic neurotransmissions, that is after the ganglion the transmission, postsynaptic neurotransmission was blocked, such venoms will be having a response to neostigmine, that is a cobra venom can have this response, others will not have. Sometimes wrestle viper is a question mark, still it is not confirmed whether it can produce any significant response to neostigmine in case of wrestle viper and kite. And respond to ASV, antiserum snake venom antiserum. There you can see hum nose vipers are having no response, remaining all others having the response. So first aid, what are the first aid to be done for the snake bite? So what again, the first aid, do it right, correctly you should do. You have a right, that is you can see each one having an full form. R means reassure the patients. See that 70% of the snake bites are non-venomous species, only 50% of the bite was venomous species. Actually envenomated the patients. So say that reassure the patients, make them reassure, see the snake bite is a poisonous or non-poisonous bite, give confidence to the patient. That is the first thing you should do. Second one, I, immobilization. In the same way as a limb fracture, if a fracture happens to the patient, same way you immobilize the patient, use a bandage or a cloth, hold the splints. Splints means we used to immobilize the limbs by using a sling, like same thing. And but you ensure that you are not blocking the blood supply and you are not unnecessarily applying any pressure to the area. So what happened, do not put any tight ligatures near the bited site, so it causes this all type of complications. And GH, get the hospital immediately. So the important thing is, next GH is the get the hospital or take the patient immediately to the hospital. And T, tell the doctor if any symptoms. T stands for you should tell the doctor if you found any symptoms while you are taking the patient to the hospital. That is a T. And traditional methods. Previously we have an traditional method, or we have previous first aid methods. This should be discarded. First one is the trocketing, that is traditionally used to stop venom flow. We used to make a knot below upper and below portion of the bited site, a tight knot will be put. So that should be to, why we are putting that one, to stop the flow of vein. But it increases the risk of ischemia. So it increases the risk of ischemia. So the part of tissues will be died due to loss of blood supply or oxygen supply, and so due to this loss of limbs can be happen, sometimes necrosis can be happen. So and the important thing is, when you loosen the knot, release of snake venom, neurotoxin will be rushed into the area and causes neurotoxic blockade can be happen when you releases the knot or trochet. And second one we used to do in the traditional method is incision and suction. So this should not be done, because if you do this one, it increases the risk of severe bleeding, because if the person is being written with a Viperidae family, automatically the bleeding will be get affected. So a perfused bleeding will be there. If you if you put an incision and try to suck it out, or some blood come on, and automatically what happen, the bleeding, severe bleeding can be happen. So it will affect the clotting and clotting mechanism, and we prove that it is ineffective. There is no efficacy, or there is the method is ineffective. There is no venom has been removed by this method, and chance of infection to the patient and the person who is giving the first aid is possible. So two things is possible. One is to the chance of infection to the patient or the person who is doing the suction or incision can be happen. Washing the wound is a third one. It increases the flow of venom into the system by stimulating the lymphatic system. So if you wash the wound continuously, what happens? It stimulates the lymphatic system, and it increases the flow of venom into the system. So what are the treatment protocol? So if the person comes with an snake bite, attend, first you should take away the ABC, that is airway, breathing and circulation. You can go for a tetanus toxoids. You may think, what is the reason why we need a tetanus toxoid? Sometimes what happens with the bite, there may be a chance of getting any infectious bacteria, or tetanic bacteria can be also get involved or get through the snake bite. So avoid such things to give tetanus toxoid. Sometimes what happens, the patient required a skin grafting to cure the area, or if any necrosis or embolism or anything happens to the site injected to the bitten site, nearby bitten site, then it requires a skin grafting. So better give a tetanus toxoid earlier to avoid so that further any toxoid should not be given while grafting the skin. And there is no need of any antibiotics, it's not necessary. Try to identify the snake possible, a snake responsible for the bite. So you can try to identify what type of snake has been bitten. So the type of snake bitten can be identified. If that will be much better. All patients should be kept under an observation for 24 hours. So minimum of 24 hours the patient should be under observation, and also important thing is what is the exact time when the snake has been bitten, and ask the victim as what he was doing while he was biting. The snake was biting. What was the job he was doing? Whether he was working in the field or he was walking through the street, whatever it may be. What was he was doing at the time of biting? That is also important for the treatment protocol. Suppose pain has been generated in the bitten side, the patient may develop pain. Give paracetamol. You can give paracetamol to control pain. Don't go for any aspirin or NSAIDs, because we know that this aspirin and NSAIDs can affect the blood clotting and blood coagulation property of the blood. So better avoid aspirin or NSAIDs. If the pain is intensive pain, so pain is uncontrollable, you can go for tramadol. 50 mg of tramadol can also be used. And care must be taken to removing the tight. If the patient is brought to the hospital with a tight trachea, so you should be taken care that you are removing the trachea. Suddenly it may lead to a massive surge of venom. So I told you earlier, it will go a massive surge of venom leading to neurological paralysis, especially with the neurotoxins. Neurological paralysis can be happen. They can block immediately. They will go and block the postsynaptic transmission or presynaptic transmission, which causes a neurological paralysis or hypotension, and vasodilatation can be happen in the patients. So such care should be taken if the patient has been brought into the hospital with a tight trachea. Investigation. What are the investigation you should do? Complete blood count. You can go for a complete blood count. Anemia, you can go for an hemoglobin count. Leukocytosis, thrombocytopenia, such tests can be taken. And evidence of hemolysis, you can check for the evidence of hemolysis. How we can check? We can check for the fragmented RBC cells. You can check the fragmented RBC cells in the blood, and prolonged clotting timing. So the clotting timing also you can go for checking the clotting timing. If the clotting timing is increased, so you can go for an activated partial prothrombin timing test. You can go for that at APTT. Serum electrolytic level you can check. If a hyperkalemia, for hyperkalemia you can go for the serum electrolytic level. And you can also go for an rise in urea or creatinine level. Muscle damage or such things has happened, automatically creatinine and urea level will be shoot up. That can also go for the investigation. And the best one is the 20-minute blood clotting test, considers to be the most reliable test for coagulation. So you can see here, this is the WHO procedure, which WHO given the procedure how you can go for a 20-minute blood clotting test. So you can take the blood, 1 to 2 ml of the blood, and put it into a glass bottle or a glass bottle, and shake it well. Wait for 20 minutes and invert the bottle. If the blood is clotted, then it is negative. If the blood is not clotted, then it is positive. So this is a standard technique used to check the 20 minutes whole blood clotting test prescribed by WHO. And also you can go for a single breath count. Here the single breath count is after the administration, you can count the breathing and the distance between the upper and lower jaws or incisors. The distance you can count, and if there is an improvement in the distance, you can go for a single breath count. That will be much beneficial. And also you can go for an examination of the eye to find any mydriasis or miosis. People's eyes can be examined to test. You can also test it. So other investigation, you can go for urine for RBC. Take the urine sample. You can go for a urine for RBC, especially if a Viperae family bite. Hematuria, proteinuria, hemoglobinuria, myoglobinuria can be produced in a viper bite. You can go for an ECG if it is an neurotoxin. You can go for an ECG like normal ECG, bradycardia is there, or ST elevation, or depression, or T inversion, or QT prolongation, anything is there. ECG reading can be taken for an a neurotoxic bite. Like cobra or crite. And arterial blood gas level, you can go for an checking the arterial blood gas level, like hypoxia with the respiratory acidosis, metabolic and lactic acidosis can be checked. So whether the blood oxygen level is enough is there, or if this will indicate the hypoxia or respiratory acidosis or metabolic and lactic acidosis can be done. You can also take a chest X-ray. So you can go check for a pulmonary edema, or you can check for a intrapulmonary hemorrhage. Mostly happens with the Viperidae family bite and pleural effusion. Such things can be mostly happen with the Viperidae family bite because of the it affects the coagulation property of the blood. So what are the other monitored? What are the vital signs to be monitored? So you should observe every patient. First and primemost thing is observe the patient for 24 hours. Minimum 24 hours you should observe. Go for check the pulse, BP and respiration routinely. Go check the urine output, whether the urine output is normal or it has been get affected, because we know that the bite with the Viperidae family, especially with the Russell viper or saw-scaled viper, other vipers can affect the kidney, and which will causes damage. The acute renal failure can be happen. So blood urea and creatinine. So and bleeding tendency, whether the patient is developing any bleeding tendency. Local swelling, whether local swelling has been happened. The inflammation in the local, I show you in the first part the how the local swelling will be happen in the limbs of the bitten area. Vomiting, if a crite bite, it already in the first part I discussed that if the crite, if they will cause submucosal hemorrhages in the abdomen, causes severe bleeding and vomiting. Pain, abdominal pain can be developed. Diplopia, ptosis, muscle weakness, breathlessness. These are mostly happens with a neurotoxic bite. And anti-snake venom is prepared by mainly can go for an anti-snake venom. It can be prepared by hyperimmunizing host anti-venom and against snake venom. So using host and by hyperimmunizing the host, and we are preparing this anti-snake venom. It neutralizes the free and unbounded. So what is the use of this anti-snake venom is they can the antibodies which is prepared from the host can neutralize the free and unbounded venom, to some extent also dissociated the bonded toxins. They can neutralize the free venom, or some extent to the bonded toxin also they can dissociate. So they can dissociate. And anti-snake venom is manufactured by Hefkins Central Research Institute and Kaslinia Serum Institute of India, Pune. Both are polyvalent anti-serum. That is, polyvalent means it can be used for any type of snake. It containing multiple anti-snake venom hyperimmunized antibodies. It containing multiple antibodies in the venom. So that is polyvalent means. So what is the capacity of this anti-snake venom? So if you use 1 ml of anti-snake venom, neutralize a cobra toxin of 0.6 milligram, a common crite toxin 0.45 milligram of common crite toxin, that is 1 ml of anti-snake venom, and Russell viper 0.6, and saw-scaled viper 0.45 milligram of saw-scaled viper. It can be neutralized. That is the capacity of the anti-snake venom. So the other type of Russell viper, that is horn headed Russell viper, it will not have any neutralizing capacity. So what are the indications? How an anti-venom should be indicated? What is the guidelines that were prescribed by the WHO? As per the WHO guidelines, if a patient develop one or more of the following signs and symptoms, AVS should be given. So you cannot give a anti-snake venom to all patients. See that the patient has been developed one or more signs or symptoms. Systematic envenoming. If a person has a systematically envenoming, that is, he has been bitten and the envenoming has been happened, that is evidence of coagulopathy. That is dictated by mainly by the whole blood 20-minute whole blood clotting tests, or visible symptoms of systemic bleeding. So you can go for this anti-snake venom if the symptoms, the signs and symptoms are one or more symptoms are present. You can go for this. First one is the evidence of coagulopathy. That is, if you go for an 20 minutes whole blood clotting timing, or any visible bleeding has been there, then you can go for this, can administer anti-snake venom. Evidence of neurotoxicity. Any evidence of neurotoxicity is there, like ptosis or extra ophthalmolgia. That is, extra ophthalmolgia means slow and progressed immobilization of eyelids or eyeballs. The eyelids cannot be moved, eyeballs cannot be moved, and it's a slow and progressed one. That is called external ophthalmolgia. Any serious abnormality, if the patient develop any serious abnormality like hypotension, shock, arrhythmias, then also you can go for anti-snake venom. Or if a patient develop an acute renal failure, if the patient having an acute renal failure, there also you can go for an anti-snake venom. If a hemoglobinuria, myoglobinuria is there, you can go for anti-snake venom. Persistent severe vomiting and abdominal pain, especially with a crite bite, the patient will have persistent vomiting and abdominal pain. So you can also you can go for an anti-snake venom. So these are the guidelines given by the WHO for the administration of anti-snake venom. So if a local, if there is for a systemic venoming, if a local envenoming is there, if a local swelling, that is the half of the involved limb, if the half portion of the involved limb is swelled, then you can go for an anti-snake venom. Or a rapid extension of swelling, the swelling has been extending very rapidly into the body, into the limbs, there also you can go for an anti-snake venom. And enlarged tender lymph node and draining the bitten limbs. So if there is an enlargement of the tender lymph nodes of the bitten limbs, then also you can go for an anti-snake venom. So these are the local venoming conditions. You can go for anti-snake venom. So how will you administer anti-snake venom? So no anti-snake venom test dose must be administered. You should not go for any anti-snake venom test dose. This is not recommended. You can go for an 100 ml, that is 10 vials of polyvalent anti-snake venom for an adult, and children based on the published research. That is, you can see a Russell Viper. What is the published research is, a Russell Viper on a single bite can inject an average of 63 milligram of venom into the patient. So calculate according to that one, you administer for children's based on the publications. Our initial dose must be calculated to neutralize the average dose of venom injected. So you know that a Russell Viper can inject 63 milligram in a single bite. So always the initial dose of